by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, we thank you so much for being there. And if you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we are live on the NTA. Now, our the second leg of this discussion, we're looking at sustaining food security in Nigeria. We'll just lay a little foundation for that discussion. All our guests are actually seated to give us insight into it. But first, let's take this report put together by our agri correspondent, Musa Babaliu.
Who is hungry and what determines hunger have always been the bone of contention in African concepts of access to food and that of the United Nations agencies. For instance, the World Food Programme says even when the food is accessible, it must be balanced to meet the minimum physiological needs.
In the tradition of the African setting, what we call food is just to have something on the table for you to put in your mouth to fill your tummy. But the concept of this generation now is different. When we are talking about a zero hunger world, we are talking about the nutritional safety and the food safety. It means the quality of food that you are consuming matters most.
The two definitions, however, put the number of hungry people around the world at close to 800 million people. The vast of the hungry people live in developing countries where 12.9% of the population is undernourished.
Actually, people are going to bed hungry because of distribution. Research have also shown that we have enough food. The planet Earth is producing enough food for the world population, but the distribution is a problem. There is shortage and wastage.
In Nigeria, there have been different views on if the country is housing substantial number of people who have no access to 3 square meals a day.
A lot of, even the civil servants, among the civil servants, some cannot even boast of 2 square meals.
Some don't have, some don't really have. Why some have little, but not be enough for the children, depends on the population they are in their home.
There is no hunger in this country, but if you say some inconveniences, yes. But if you say, yes, probably I missed my breakfast, but I get lunch, or I missed lunch, I get dinner, that is all right, and is a little bit better than to have a total hunger.
Nigerians in urban areas are increasingly relying on away-from-home meals sourced from various vendors, although without prejudice to those who do nutritious food. A lot of these food from home are usually sodium, sugar, and trans fat laden, and sometimes of poor quality.
Nigeria and other 160 countries are celebrating this year's World Food Day with specific focus on zero hunger and balanced diet.
All right, now the guest with us in the studios to discuss this issue in further detail would like to welcome first Aziz Musbau Olumuyiwa. He's the Director, Agribusiness and Marketing, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, here with us in the Abuja studios.
Aziz, good morning.
Pleasure to have
you.
Good
morning, Nigeria. It's my having me.
All right. Also here with us is Architect Kabir Ibrahim, He's President of Farmers Association of Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay.
And we also have with us Sufyan Sanusi Koroma. He is a country rep, Food and Agricultural Organization of the UN to Nigeria and ECOWAS. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
And also joining us via Skype is a regular on Good Morning Nigeria. He's Professor Abba Gambo. He's an agri-consultant, Nigeria Governors Forum. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us on the program this morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Professor Gambo, our Skype connection to you is very clear this time. So before hunger catches the Skype connection, let's begin with you. What is food security?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Pleasure to see you again. Now, it's a very simple issue. Food security means, like in the report, balanced, affordable, accessible. Balanced, affordable, accessible. First, it should be affordable. That means you have the money, you can buy. Then secondly, it should be accessible. You have the money and you can buy what you want. And thirdly, it must be in a balanced form. The balanced form we're all talking about, which of course is the theme for this year's World Food Day, is that there are 4 classes of food that everybody must take every day for a person to have a balanced diet. First, what we call the meat and meat products. Second, what we call the milk and milk products. Then third, we have what we call grains and cereals. And then the last one is fruits and vegetables. Now, we've always said that the major problem is with the second classes of food, which is the milk and milk products. The intake of milk by Nigerians is among the lowest in the whole world. Children below the age of 5 are supposed to have maximum milk for increased IQ, but then they don't have it. And even when you grow up, you're supposed to be having continuous intake of milk because it's very good for brain development. So at the end of the day, when you look at the analysis, we have food everywhere, definitely. And then some can afford whatever. But then the truth of the matter is, Kingsley, less than, from our analysis, 25% of Nigerians are feeding well. Less than 25% of our countrymen and women are having balanced diet per day.
All right, Professor Gambo, I mean, does that speak to the state of Nigeria's food security?
Yes, it does. You know, the food security and national security are interwoven. There is no way you can separate the two. What we always say, a hungry man is an angry man. So if the country is not secured by food-wise, then definitely there will be a chain reaction of so many crises. The discussion you had, the first, I was keenly seeing you, and then it's so interesting. The security situation that we're talking in the Northeast has started moving to the Northwest. It has started moving into the North Central. And now even you big guys that are in Abuja, fortified, you are still having problems. So this means a lot to what exactly is happening in the country now. If there is no good food security, definitely there wouldn't be good national security. This is universal concept all over the world.
All right, thank you very much.
Professor Gambo is saying big guy. Professor Gambo, once in a while, you are also a big guy because you come into the FCT.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Gambo. We'll get back to you. Let's bring in Aziz Musba Muyiwa. How secure are we in terms of food in Nigeria right now as we speak?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I want to congratulate Nigerians for witnessing another World Food Day as declared by the United Nations, that is the FAO. Now, let me quickly give the simple definition of food security. It's the A's, the 3 A's. We call it 3 A's. The availability, affordability, and accessibility. When you look at it, Nigeria is doing very, very well in terms of food production. We're increasing our productivities. Our production is increasing. When you look at maize, over and above that of last year, there is no food items we've not recorded substantial growth over and above that of last year. You know, but when you also look at some other things, like Professor Gambo rightly mentioned, you have to look at the availability. Is the food available? It's available. Nigeria is the largest producer of yams in the country. We are the largest producer of cassava in the world. We are the largest producer of cassava in the world, producing over 49 to 50 million metric tons. We are also producing maize. We've tried to double our maize, moving up to about 16 million metric tons. Look at rice, which is our major staple food crops. We're doing very, very well. But if you go by the definition of FAO of the United Nations, which defines the per capita consumption, the per capita consumption of rice of Nigeria is 45 kg per annum. The implication of this is that an average Nigerian eats a bag, almost 50 bag of rice per annum. That is the implication of it. Then when you now use this to calculate, our demand, Our demand for rice, paddy rice, is 7 million metric tons. And we are doing close to 5.5 million metric tons, leaving a gap of 1 million metric tons. Let us quickly go to tomatoes. We are also trying to bridge the gap of the tomato production. We moved from what used to be 1.3 million to almost about 2.7 million metric tons. When you look at the gap between, it's less than 1 million metric tons. Okay. But when you look at all these crops, all these produce, you will want to agree with me that we are not doing badly in terms of food insecurity. There's also a regional food security committee that carries out a survey known as KEDA Harmonise. The KEDA Harmonise, the recent report, has also confirmed that Nigeria is not doing badly, even though we still have more to do to reach there, but we are not doing badly at all.
Okay, Aziz Olomuyiwa, thank you very much. But before we bring in the other two guests who haven't spoken, clarify this, because there are a number of mothers, other women who go to the market, and there are husbands who are viewing this program and they listen to the complaints when their wives return from the market. You're saying, you're talking about cassava, bleeding cassava. I don't know what the price of a mudu of gari is now. You're talking about rice. We're producing rice. I'm sure you have seen the prices of rice rise, since the partial closure of the borders. You're talking about tomatoes. If you go to Lagos, people will be telling you Ghana tomatoes. That is what they will be going for. I'm sure you have also been hearing about Cameroon pepper and Cameroon banana. So if people are having all of this in our market, where then is the justification for your claim as to food security?
Yeah,
because Professor Gambo said earlier that less than 25% of Nigerians.
Thank you very much. Yes. This is a very good question. I want Nigerians, to know about this. You know, there is a saying in Yoruba saying that you are looking at a woman carrying a load and you are seeing the load tilting towards another side. And you are wondering why. You have to find out whether that woman is balanced or not. The implication of this, if I translate it into, a farmer is also a businessman living within the context of the Nigerian environment. The inflation as released recently by the National Bureau of Statistics is 11.23 to 11.28%. He has to pay for fuel, he has to pay for fertilizer, he has to pay for chemicals. When you even look at the cost of transportation alone, and that is why the current government is working on making the infrastructure available. Don't forget that agriculture in Nigeria is private sector led, while government enabled. We provide the infrastructure. Then secondly, let me go, apart from the inflation, let me go to a very interesting part of your question, which is valid. When you look at the rate of importation, the rate of smuggling of food items into Nigeria, thereby disincentivize the Nigerian farmers. Take, for example, the issue of rice. You know that an average Republic of Benin's person does not eat polished rice. They don't eat long grain parboiled rice. What they eat is unpolished rice, which is white rice. And the population of Republic of Benin is less than 5 million. And when you look at the quantum of rice that is being imported, long grain imported grain that is being imported to Republic of Benin, you must know that the destination of that rice is Nigeria. And that is why the government has taken that decisive action. Look at tomato I have mentioned, for example. We've introduced a very high tariff between 5 to 50% on tomato paste. We've also introduced on every tons of tomato paste they are importing into the country, $1,200. And yet we are still getting it in Nigeria. So when there is trade aversion, when they bring this, and that is why it's now making the small good item very, very cheap. If you look at common external tariff, set is 0 to 5% on any food item being brought to Republic of Benin. And you know they all depend, most of these countries depend on us. So thereby making the food item brought into Nigeria cheaper than what is produced in Nigeria. I want to conclude by saying that you should look at farmers. he wants to make money, he wants to send children to school, and as a result, they are here. They have to get a return on their investment. And this is why you are only looking at the cost of price. You are not looking at the cost of the raw material for producing these food crops.
Kabir Ibrahim, let's get your take.
Well, so many issues have been raised and most of them valid. But I want to dwell on the farmer and the change of fortune that Kingsley and others are referring to as being Sherlock. When you sell, for instance, rice at 20,000, that is far less than $100. When you eat, if you go to any restaurant in England or the US, one man will spend $100 to eat or more. But that aside, I want to tell you that the farmers are very happy with the policies in place. We are doing limited protectionism, disallowing many things to come in because we are putting hurdles so that what we produce internally will have value. The farmer goes to the same market as everybody else. If we produce anything and we get good returns, we are happy and we are the majority. The smallholder farmers are like 70 million in this country. So people crying about food and all that are largely the small-scale farmers. The cry for food security and the claim that we have food security is ambitious, definitely. But we are going towards getting food sufficiency, which will lead to food security. I'm glad to say that so many people are now embracing agriculture because that space is where everybody should be. The government is making a lot of effort to make this possible, and we are grateful for that.
Okay, Architect Ibrahim, thanks. Let's bring in Sufyan Koroma, who is the representative in country of the Food and Agriculture Organization. What is the reading of the FAO of the food security situation in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Let me just add one dimension to what Aziz and Professor Gambo mentioned in terms of food security is the issue of stability. Because with the 3 A's, the access, the affordability, and there is also the utilization aspect. But the food has to be stable in its flow so that at least those price spikes that you mentioned and all the reasons could be that is what makes food affordable when there is a constant flow. But really, the theme of this year's World Food Day is actually healthy diets for a zero hunger world, which goes broadly beyond just food security, which is we've been talking here. It looks at the nutritional aspect in a safe, sufficient, and diverse food for healthy life and minimize the risk of disease. And this is, we can have as much food as we want, but if that food is not healthy, it is a problem. This is the problem now we face. In Nigeria, we are seeing that obesity, there's about 7% obesity in adults.
Really?
1 in 3 children are stunted, and 48% of women of reproductive age are anemic. So these are very, very alarming statistics that we need to look at. So the quality of the food we eat and how we eat it is critical. And this is what this World Food Day is all about. How we make sure we eat healthy. We can have all the cassava, all the yam, all the other products, but if they are not healthy. Yesterday we were in a book fair and there was a stand on aflatoxin that affects maize and groundnuts. As a matter of fact, the person there was saying because of this aflatoxin, Nigeria lost its comparative advantage in groundnuts. And the verdict is that Nigeria is losing $670 million annually in export revenue because of this disease. Now we have a problem of fall armyworm, which affects maize.
Yes.
And we in FAO, we have worked with the government here, we have tried to address it in 12 states. but there is a need to take it beyond that. Fall armyworm is going to cost several $100 million because maize is not only a food crop, it is also animal feed, it is also an industrial crop. So these are the challenges that we are facing now. Nigeria is producing significant amount of food. The government has done significantly well, especially in the area of rice. And I see there is a drive for the type of policies. I mean, my friend Kabiru said we are adopting limited protectionism. I mean, that is very interesting. But it is important that I saw that the farmers are advocating for this. So in essence, there is food, but it has to meet those 3 A's and the stability aspect that is being. But the nature of World Food Day today is about healthy diets. It's about paying attention to the food we eat, how we eat it, and where it comes from.
Well, thank you very much, Sufyan Koroma. You talked about the theme of the FAO. That's understandable, getting a balanced diet. But getting a balanced diet, Professor Gambo already listed the quadrant that you will have for you to have a balanced diet. And here, you've also indicated that 1 in 3 children in Nigeria are stunted.
Yes.
And that the quality of the food that we get and how we also eat, there are challenges for us. I want Professor Abagambo to speak to this in terms of the stunting that Koroma has talked about, and also the quality of what we get and how we eat what we get. Are these also not factors in our food security matrix?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Now, firstly, I want to pay respects to your 3 guests. Coincidentally, I worked under each one of them, all of the 3 of them. Now, let's go a little bit practical. The major problem we're talking about, the missing gap, is the milk and the livestock. Now, just yesterday, I did an analysis at the Damaturu main market. One goat that was selling for 25,000 naira last year, it now sells for 40,000 naira. A sheep that was selling for 35,000 naira last year goes for about 50,000 naira now. Camel that was being sold for 330,000 naira last year goes for about 300,000 now. Ram that goes for 100,000 naira last year is about 150,000 naira now. And cows, the big bulls that are being shipped all over, a good one is about 400,000 naira last year. Today is about 600,000 naira. These are the exact figures from the market analysis I did yesterday. Let's go a little bit more practical. Near my house, Kingsley, there is a woman that sells masa. And every morning before I go to work, I send a boy to collect the masa for me. She usually puts the masa, 10 pieces, in a pack, well packaged, and then she'll put the pepper and everything by the side. So I know that every day is 10-10, because I can take 5, take my tea, and leave to the office and go with the other 5 in my bag so that I'll use it in the office. And just recently, I bought yesterday, it was 7. So as I was going out, I now said, madam, why are you reducing the number of masa, or has it finished? She said, you don't go to the market, that's why. Every commodity, I repeat, every commodity that is being used as food in any kitchen in the country has gone up. Starting from salt to Ajinomoto to pepper, the Cameroonian pepper you're talking about, every single condiment, every single spice, every single protein, fish, meat, whatever, all the prices have gone up. And that's the true picture of it. Nigerians are eating, but they are not eating properly. Nigerians are hungry, and that is the truth. We live with the farmers, we are with them, we hear their cries, we also visit the farms, we go to the markets, we have all these things in our fingertips. There has to be some real motivations. Yes, the farmers will be happy, most especially for those that grew rice, because the rice price has actually increased. And I have the same analysis for the grains. Last year, rice was selling for 8,500, and this year, rice has gone up to 10,000 naira now in Damaturu, which is a very good thing. The farmers are happy, yes. And then the same thing for millet, which has actually gone down. It was 9,000 naira last year. This year, yesterday, was 8,200. Then sorghum has been static. 7,000 last year, 7,000 this year. Cowpea that was selling for 25,000 naira last year by this time is now 13,000 naira. So if some farmers in the rice value chain are happy, other farmers in the cowpea value chain are not really happy. And Kingsley, you have to take a special status of the situation that we are in the Northeast. You know, for long we've not been on our farms. As I'm talking to you, there are still about 21 different IDP camps in Borno. Locally in Yobe, we don't have any IDP camp. There is one IDP camp with 400,000 people, and all of them are from the shores of the Lake Chad. All of them are farmers or fishermen. They are now camped in one place, given a portion of rice once a day. So these 400,000 people have left the farming value chain. Then come a little bit further. The Meteorological Agency did a very good analysis. They said there will be some drought at the beginning. Yes, some farmers planted 3 times in Damaturu here, Yobe State. But then when the rain came, honestly, it will amaze you that more than 50% of farms have been flooded in Yobe State. As I'm talking to you, all their sesame, all their cowpea, all their millet are all submerged by flood. So I don't know. Farmers in maybe perhaps in the KB Sokoto rice corridor will be happy, but definitely farmers in the Yobe rice corridor are not happy. And there has to be some palliatives as quickly as possible from my Oga Aziz. Let them know that people are suffering at the other side of the country, definitely. And those farmers need something. As the water is receding, we can give them some sweet potatoes, Irish potatoes, good varieties, early maturing cowpea, so that they can actually recoup what they have lost. But now as the situation is, the farmers have lost virtually everything. And don't forget, Kingsley, we've succeeded in making farming or agriculture a business in Nigeria. So it's a kind of investment. You put in your money with the sole idea of getting profit. But when you put in your money and then you are not getting any profit, Kingsley, why are you wasting your time on a farm?
Professor Abba Gambo, incidentally, I don't have a farm. and we'd like to thank you for the insights that you have provided. The master that you used to get 10, now you are getting 7. We will save you some energy so that before you get into the classroom. Professor Abba Gambo is, of course, the dean at Yobe University, and they joined us via Skype from Damaturu, the capital of Yobe State. Professor Gambo, thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, now let's return to the studios. Architect Kabir Ibrahim, we're not discussing the architecture. I mean, you're passionate about farming, president of Farmers Association of Nigeria. You can see shall we say, the yin and yang. You know, some farmers are happy because prices have gone up, but those, who are consumers, like the rest of us, minus you, of course, we're complaining. And of course, for some families, you would have to they may have to reorder their meals, and that could affect the balance of their diet. What, in your opinion, can we do? Because earlier you talked about limited protectionism. I mean, the fact that we've had to close our land borders, there are security implications. I'm not sure any Nigerian is quarreling about that, apart from the smugglers. But what do we need to do? I mean, virtually every other item is spiking in terms of their prices.
Well, there are a number of things, but let me talk about what government can do quickly. If you identify flooding as a cause of setback to some farming communities, create a mechanism for compensating them, and create another enabling environment, like he said, to be able to get them back to agriculture. 3, you have to change your mindset in Nigeria. Everybody has to look at agriculture as the mainstay of the economy. Even though, we are on the way, the oil should be looked upon as a bonus. Even in budgeting, nobody says the Ministry of Agriculture should be given a large chunk of money to give out contracts. But to look at those aspects like research, like the seed system, like extension, and then cross-cutting issues like transportation, the environment, good science and technology. Fund agriculture very well. Don't give 82 billion when the budget is 10.3 trillion to agriculture. Give $10 billion to agriculture once and let agriculture be changed completely. In the United States, what they do is they spend almost $1 billion every day on agriculture. That's why with $1 you buy takeaway tea, Roy Rogers, you drive from anywhere, Washington up to Pennsylvania, you stop over and buy tea, takeaway, $1. So there is food security there, and there could be food security in Nigeria.
One aspect you just raised now, I'd like you to drill on that before we bring in Aziz again. You're talking about adverse weather conditions. I mean, on Good Morning Nigeria, on at least 3 occasions this year, we focused on the looming climate disaster we're going to have in terms of flooding, and a number of farms, a number of properties have already been impacted. But you were saying government should look for a way of compensating them. What happens to agricultural insurance?
Well, I think there is a new lady there who is very practical. And now, the other day I was complaining to her that as far as we were concerned, in poultry, for instance, compensation is not forthcoming and is not adequate. She promises that it would be looked upon. If you do that, you would help agriculture, agricultural production. You must be able to pay appropriate compensation to losses in farming. Otherwise, the people will not go back to the farm. The food security we're talking about will just be in the newspapers.
All right, thank you very much, Kabir Ibrahim. Let's take the tweets that we have, and then we'll bring in Sufyan Koroba. Let's quickly take the tweets. This one is from Mike Anyaku. He says, an angry man, they say, is an angry man. And the importance of sustaining food security in the country cannot be overemphasized. A nation is at full independence with it. The recent closure of the borders couldn't have been possible without food security. Economic growth is guaranteed with food security and springing up of infant industries with backward and forward linkage effect. Kudos to the present government effort towards food security. We must sustain it. This is a task that must always be done.
Now, Nsima Splendid, on food security, the current measures by the federal government, that is to say border closure, is a step in the right direction. It will stimulate local production of agricultural produce.
And this one is from Ini Ibi Isaac Iboket. It says, we will only obtain food security when we change our perception about agriculture and fully mechanize it.
Law Alpha C, one of our regulars, Nigerians should develop the culture of patronizing and eating local foods, which are abundant at the nook and crannies of the country, thereby encouraging farmers to produce more.
Dilly Jack Solomon says, looking into national security, job creation, research and dissemination of knowledge on sustainable agricultural practice and use of technology development of value chain, as well as circulation of knowledge on nutrition, can go a long way to solve the issue of food security.
Now, Paul Adejubo has this tweet. It says, how? That's on food security. Farmers are being attacked daily by herdsmen and bandits on their farms. Many are fleeing their farms and their communities. Just yesterday in Benue, a woman's hand was chopped off by herdsmen while on her farm.
And this one is from Chris Simon. Chris Simon says, not everybody is willing to go into agriculture, so sustaining a food security may not likely be possible.
Now, Comrade Ngala, federal government should focus on farming and security of farmers too. Also, construction of dams in the geopolitical zones and soft loans to rural farmers will enhance food security.
And Mogbala Babs, he says, on food security, the border closure should be sustained a little longer. It's absolutely absurd that a country with very arable land and one of the best weathers in the world will open our borders to all sorts of imports, including banana from Benin Republic and Cameroon. He says, come on.
Solid Michael Amakoji, as an economist, not of the opinion that attaining food security should lead to outright ban of some food items. What the federal government should do is to increase import duties on those items in order to raise more revenue and even ensure healthy competition between importers and local sellers.
And Ogbeni Caesar says, as the federal government moves towards food sufficiency for the nation, mechanisms should be put in place to ensure that its untold economic effects are cushioned, so the ordinary people won't feel the pain on the purchasing power. Nothing is as good as being self-sufficient as a nation.
Francis Obi has this tweet. It says, on food security, the government needs to do more. It should look at the programs of Dr. Akin, that will be Akinwumi Adesina, the former Minister of Agriculture, and continue from where he stopped. Politics should be removed from agricultural programs.
All right, those are the tweets that we have right now. Very quickly, just as we come to an end on the program this morning, let's get your closing thoughts. Sophia and Koroma, what do you... As you speak to the challenges that we have in terms of food security, as to the theme for this year in terms of have people, getting to eat balanced diets, not just eating.
Well, I think all has been said. The link between what Professor Gambo said and healthy diets is very clear. First of all, we need to have availability and affordability. Affordability is critical here. But for healthy diets, you need knowledge, and you need proper scientific advice. So there is a role for all stakeholders. There is a role for the government to harmonize and streamline its legislation. It should be clear what the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Health, what the SON is doing, what NAFDAC is doing. These all needs to be harmonized so that we get a consistent policy that would be an enabler with incentives to the farmers and knowledge to them on how to produce nutritious food.
Right.
Thank you very much, Koroma. And the closing thoughts of Aziz Olomuyiwa. One issue, basic economics will tell you law of demand and supply. Is it possible for us at some point to have an oversupply so that prices would crash, and then, of course, the farmers will also have their benefits through agricultural insurance. They will also have the benefit through marketing boards, which can then buy and then warehouse and the silos, and so on and so forth. As I said, you go to there are some places you go to with just a few bucks in your pocket, you take a meal.
Yeah, thank you very much. Quickly, I want to answer that question to say that by using a proverb where I come from, they say the chicken is sweating, but you may not notice it because of the feathers. To say the farmers are trying, the government is also doing its best to ensure that we have food security. We're working towards that so that we produce enough, produce surplus, and bring down the price. But don't forget, the farmers too will have to smile to the bank. They are smiling to the bank now. So let's support them. And quickly to say that Nigeria is currently keeping the strategic food security stock for the whole West Africa. We are keeping it because we have the largest strategic storage capacity. And to also say, you asked a very good question the other time. You said, what do we do to ensure that you strike a balance between production as well as eating a balanced diet? We've done this through our food and nutrition strategies. One, what are we doing? We are now fortifying our food value chains. Okay. We have lysine, that is protein-rich maize now, which we are making available to the farmer to produce. As you are eating maize, you are eating balanced diet. We are having orange flesh potatoes, whereby you have all your balanced diet. You don't need to be rich to eat balanced diet. That's what we are trying to do. So we are increasing our knowledge.
You are saying the corn that is in season now, we're almost going out of season. It's part of this. The one they call mouth organ. You know that?
Yes.
Okay. With pear and coconut.
If you eat it now, you are eating a balanced diet because we are the kind of variety we are making available is high lysine maize. It has a lot of protein. It has a lot of vitamin. It has a lot of. We are also doing the same thing for cassava, which was otherwise referred to as a common food. So that when you eat it, you are rich.
But Aziz, we are not saying that somebody should take mouth organ in the morning, take mouth organ in the afternoon, take mouth organ in the evening.
Kabir Ibrahim, are you smiling to the bags?
Yes, we are.
Somehow.
You're smiling to the bags.
Yes, we are. But what I want to advise Nigerians to do is to allow themselves to appreciate that we can really have all we want if we eat what we grow, and we grow what we eat. And that is how our country will go forward. I live around the border in Katsina, the border with Niger. If you go to Maradi today, like we came into the studio, if you give us drinks, any drinks now, they will be made in Nigeria. And they could be local. Some from boba, some from turmeric, and all that. But in Nigeria, when I go to Sufyan's office, he gives me Coca-Cola or something, that probably is not it's hardly totally made in Nigeria. So we must learn to eat what we grow and grow what we eat. And that way we will get food sufficiency and food security.
All right. Thank you very much, Architect Kabir Ibrahim, President of Farmers Association of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on Good Morning
You're
Nigeria.
Welcome. Thank you.
Aziz Musba Muyiwa is the Director, Agribusiness and Marketing, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Thank you for your thoughts and time.
Thank you.
And also Sufyan Sanusi Koroma is the Country Rep, Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN to Nigeria and ECOWAS. Thank you very much. Earlier on, we had Professor Gambo, who's also an agri-consultant. He joined us via Skype from Damaturu. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being on the program this morning. All right, let's quickly take some news from the foreign scene.